Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that really flips the script on how we think about alcohol recovery. It's called the Sinclair method. And the interesting thing is, it doesn't start with telling you to stop drinking. Nope, it starts with science to help you regain control. For so many people, this quote just hits home. That feeling of a constant hidden struggle with alcohol. It can be exhausting. It's this secret you're always carrying around. But what if the way forward wasn't about just gritting your teeth and relying on willpower? What if it was actually about neuroscience? All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to look at why this path is so different, get into the cool science of how it actually retrains your brain, and then walk through the 4 simple steps. We'll also talk about the huge role of peer support, tackle some common questions, and then, wrap it all up by looking at what a future in your control could really feel like. Okay, section 1. So the first thing you really need to get about the Sinclair method, or TSM for short, is that it's a total departure from a lot of the traditional programs out there. You know the ones. They demand you stop drinking completely, right from day one. And look, for a lot of people, that's just a massive wall to climb before you even start. So instead of that all or nothing, black and white approach, TSM is all about science. And here's the wild part. It actually allows you to keep drinking while you're on the program. The goal isn't to force sobriety on you overnight. It's about slowly, gradually reducing how much you drink and dialing down those cravings over time. It's all about putting you back in the driver's seat. Right, so how does this even work? I mean, drinking to drink less? It sounds totally backwards, right? But the secret sauce here isn't willpower. It's all about brain chemistry. Let's get into the science of how this actually retrains your brain's response to alcohol. The big scientific idea behind it is something called pharmacological extinction. It sounds complicated, but the concept is pretty simple. Think about it. Drinking is a learned behavior. Every time you drink, your brain gets a little hit of endorphins, which are like natural opioids. They light up the reward centers in your brain and basically scream, "Yes, that was awesome, let's do that again." And that reinforcement, over and over, is what builds the craving. So TSM steps in and breaks that cycle using a medication called naltrexone. It's FDA approved and totally non-addictive. Basically, think of naltrexone as a bouncer at the door of your brain's reward receptors. You take it about an hour before you drink, and it just stands there, blocking the entrance. So when the endorphins from the alcohol show up, they can't get in. The brain never gets that yes signal, that chemical reward. And this is the perfect way to picture it. It's literally like Pavlov's dogs. Remember that? He'd ring a bell, give the dogs food, and they'd start drooling. Eventually, just ringing the bell made them drool. But what happens if you ring the bell and no food comes? Over and over. The dogs stop drooling. The connection is broken. It's the exact same thing with TSM. The brain slowly unlearns that alcohol equals pleasure, and poof, the craving starts to fade away. So the science is pretty cool, right? But the best part is, the method itself is incredibly straightforward. Let's break it down into 4 simple, practical steps. Okay, here we go. Step 1, you talk to a doctor who knows TSM. This is super important to make sure it's a good fit for you. Step 2, you get your medication, naltrexone. The rule is simple. Take 1 pill at least an hour before your first drink. Step 3 is the absolute key to the whole thing. You can drink, but, and this is a big but, only after you've taken the pill. That's what does the magic of unlearning. And finally, step 4, you just let the process work. Over time, those cravings shrink and you start to feel back in control. Now, it's really important to get the timeline right. This isn't a magic pill that works overnight. It's a gradual process. So in the first week or 2, you might just notice some subtle shifts. But then, somewhere around weeks 3 to 6, that's when a lot of people feel the cravings really start to back off. And as you keep going week after week, the old habit gets weaker and weaker, and you'll likely see your drinking go down quite a bit. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay, this next part is absolutely crucial. Seriously, going through this process is way easier and way more effective when you have support. The most important thing to remember is that you do not have to do this alone. Community really is everything. Having people to talk to who are on the exact same journey is a game changer. I mean, there's just something so powerful about connecting with someone who gets it. They understand the good days, the weird days, all the questions you have along the way. It makes all the difference. And this is where an amazing resource like tsmmeetups.com comes in. It's a nonprofit, so everything is free. They run daily meetings on Zoom and Discord, so it's super accessible. And the key thing here is that it's all peer-driven. This isn't a doctor's office. It's a safe, totally confidential space where you can just talk. You can connect with people who are walking the same path, share what's going on, and get encouragement without any judgment. It's fantastic.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. With any kind of medical approach, you're going to have questions, and you should. So let's do a little reality check and tackle some of the most common concerns people have.
First up, side effects. What can you expect? Well, the most common one is nausea, which affects maybe 1 in 10 people. You might also see things like headaches or dizziness, but that's less common. The really important thing to know is that these side effects usually fade pretty quickly as your body adjusts. Plus, a good doctor will often start you on a lower dose just to ease you into it. Okay, this is a huge question and a totally fair one. People worry, if this thing blocks pleasure from alcohol, is it going to make everything else feel blah? Will I still enjoy my favorite meal or a good workout or just hanging out with people I love? And the answer, thankfully, is no, it doesn't. The science here is pretty specific. It targets that big flood of endorphins you get from alcohol. The natural joy you get from everything else, that stays completely intact. In fact, a lot of people say that as the artificial reward from alcohol fades, the real rewards from healthy hobbies and relationships actually feel even better. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The biggest criticism you'll hear about TSM is all about compliance. The whole thing only works if you take the pill an hour before you drink, every single time. So the obvious question is, well, what's to stop someone from just skipping the pill if they really want to get drunk? And you know what? That's a totally valid point. But the counter-argument is that as the method starts working, something shifts. The cravings genuinely start to go down, and your motivation changes. You start to want the control more than you want the buzz.
So let's bring it all home. What's the big takeaway here? What is the ultimate goal of the Sinclair method?
Well, first, the numbers don't lie. This isn't some fringe idea. It's backed by more than 90 clinical trials. And for people who follow the method correctly, the success rate is up to 80%. That is a huge number of people who are successfully getting control back over their drinking. And really, the goal isn't just about drinking less. It's about getting to a place of indifference, where alcohol just doesn't have that pull anymore. And I think this quote from someone who went through it just says it all. My drinking was a problem, and now it isn't. I mean, how powerful is that? That simple shift is everything. Ultimately, the Sinclair method completely changes the conversation. It shifts it away from this constant, exhausting battle of willpower and toward a process of scientific unlearning. It's about empowerment. So I'll leave you with this to think about. What if changing your future with alcohol isn't about the immense pressure of just stopping, but about finally having the right tool to start unlearning?